Hi, and welcome back to 5 Questions Over Coffee. I'm delighted to have with me now Debbie Moore. Debbie runs the High Achievers coaching company, and she's got some great coaching advice, I think, for really high performing teams, high performing companies. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Debbie, welcome to
Thank you so much, Stuart.
5 Questions Over Coffee.
Thank you so much. And
No
I've got
problem.
my tea.
Well, I must admit, I've just put my water down here because if I drink any more tea or coffee today, I will probably not sleep for the rest of this month, let alone. And there's not much left in this month. So, Debbie, tell me, what is it that you do with your clients? Who are your clients? What are they? What are the problems they've got that you're trying to help them to solve?
Okay, great question, Stuart. Thank you. So I think, first of all, I've kind of gone through what I would call a bit of an R&D phase last year, and I'm just getting clearer and clearer and clearer who I'm here to serve now and the problems that I'm here to solve. And the people that I am predominantly working with now are who I class as young professionals. So young professionals, leaders, entrepreneurs. And when I say young, they're typically in their 30s, although that might vary a little bit. Anyway, they're younger than me. And the problems, the challenges that I hear that they are particularly faced with, the stories that I keep hearing are that they feel they're living a life that somebody else envisaged for them. Meaning, the times that we grew up in, and I'll kind of put you in the same kind of age group as me, if you don't mind, is different to what that younger generation is experiencing, socially, politically, economically, across the board, technologically. And they find that they're working in some structures and with some principles that are not working for them. So they're feeling out of alignment and they're feeling stuck. And it's resulting sometimes in exhaustion, in sometimes a lack of motivation, and it's feeling quite yucky. They're the stories that I often hear. Sometimes if they're working in teams, despite their best efforts, they might not be able to communicate effectively with their teams. And then there's this frustration that sets in. And then they're wondering, why isn't this working now? Is it me? Is it my leadership? So it's then inward self-blaming, which doesn't help either. And sometimes with some other people that I'm working with, they do have a high aspiration to work in an aligned, authentic and a healthy way where their life feels that it has more meaning. They just often don't know how to get there.
Debbie, I love the fact that you've got that clarity. It is so critical, well, to any business owner to have the absolute clarity of what it is the problem that they have the solution for. And having that absolute clarity, I think, has really helped you to articulate that fantastically well. And if I can say, you have got a wonderful target audience there, because you're so right. There are so many younger people who just are striving to do their best, but the pressure of social media and the pressure that people feel they have to show performance, etc. You're right. There are so many things at the moment which are besetting them, and I think it's great that you have got that focus and you are targeting that particular audience. I love that. Absolutely love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And there's one more thing actually that I didn't mention. Some of these people, that they are incredibly successful in their own right. Things look like they're great on the outside, but on the inside it's not, and it can be a crisis of confidence, a lack of self-confidence, and that authentic confidence as well. I just wanted to name and presence that.
Yeah, and I think there's this there's a tremendous I do some work with some students, and the thing which worries me so much about some of those students is they're coming out of it and they feel the need to somehow demonstrate self-esteem by putting on a sort of cloak, and they don't have what I would describe as their own self-worth. They don't know, they I often describe it as a self-esteem is where they walk down the street and they want to know that they're allowed to walk down the street, so they put a mask on. But if they had true self-worth, they wouldn't care whether or not they had to walk down the street. They just know it was the right street to be on. And so few of them have got the clarity to say, I should be here and I know that I'm doing the right thing. And, they do need the help of people like you. And I guess that brings me to question two, which is, what is it that you found that they've been doing which may or may not have helped them to get to where they need to be, and how do you help them to break through some of those barriers?
So before I respond to that, Stuart, I just want to acknowledge that what you named and the insights you're having, and it just makes me feel so sad that because that's what people are doing. They're putting on a mask, putting on a face, and you don't have to do that. So thank you for naming that. So what I'm discovering is, I think first and foremost that people often think it's a weakness to ask for help and support, because that means being powerfully vulnerable, and people have not always yet discovered the power of being vulnerable and saying, you know what, I don't know, can you help me? And sometimes that's about who they ask and feel they're not always confident or sure. For example, in some workplaces, in some situations, it might even be, going to a networking event, that they can actually speak up and say, this is me, I'm not quite sure, but I'm trying to learn, and I wonder who can help me. And they often, I think it's the old Henry Ford quote, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. And I know it's a well-used quote, but it's so true, because often what we're trying to do is sort out those problems that we're experiencing from our beautiful, logical thinking brain, but we're going round and round and round the same circle. And the other thing that I notice is, by their very nature, we don't necessarily see our own patterns. We don't see our own limiting beliefs necessarily.
No.
And we certainly, by their very nature, don't see our own blind spots.
No.
So that then leads to all sorts of challenges. And what often happens then is somebody might think, well, it's my job. My job's not working for me, or my business is not working for me. And they might or even my relationship's not working for me. And they might suddenly summon up the courage to leave and think the right thing to do is start again. And then, heaven forbid, what happens is the same patterns, the same circumstances, but it's just in a different setting. And that just breaks my heart. So what I find is that without the right help, and whether that's me or whether that's somebody else, but without the right help, people often don't have a clear, aligned, authentic intention that's then expanded, not just through our thinking brain, but through our senses. So what it feels like to be moving towards that place, what it might look like, what it even might smell like or sound like or taste like. And having somebody along their side to sponsor them, to support them, to help them move into a growth mindset when challenges arise, because surprise, surprise, they do. And it's also, there's a couple of other things here. It's also about really having somebody with you so that you can take aligned action and be held accountable. And I don't mean having a big sticky or anything like that. What I mean is that sense of, okay, you took that leap, you took that action, you did something differently. So what worked about that? What didn't? What might you do differently next time? So as one of my teachers, Dr. Claire Zammit, says, let's compost it and learn from it and then move forward.
Oh, I love that expression. I love that expression. I might borrow that if that's okay. I think that's lovely.
You're welcome.
I think that's a lovely expression, because you're right. And I love the reason you put behind that, because so often these experiences that people have, they think they're bad and they need to be forgotten, but actually it's the learning from it and taking changing the mindset and looking at it and going, well, that might not have worked the way I wanted, but if I did something else, or if I took from this learning that I know I won't do that again, that's a positive. And we don't do that enough, do we? We don't take and try and change the bad and the negative into something that we can use to become a positive spring forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing is with that, when something happens, we often try and push it away. And when we try and push it away, it just gives it more energy. So that in itself needs, and again, I'm going to quote Dr. Claire Zammit here. It needs sponsoring, it needs witnessing in an appropriate way, so that we can compost that and help that be part of us moving forward. And that's really important.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Debbie, we've come to the part of the show where I now ask you to give us some valuable free resource or valuable free advice that we can start to move forward from. And I know you have a link that it would be worth making a note of, which is https:// Debbie Moore, that's DEBBIE Moore, MOORE, coaching.com/organization. Debbie, tell us about that link and what the valuable offer is that you have going behind that link.
So thank you for that, Stuart. I appreciate it. So behind that link, there is an opportunity to connect with me for a one-on-one. If what I'm saying resonates with you, for a one-on-one kind of 20-minute exploratory discussion, so that we can just do a bit of laser coaching on where you are in your life right now. And there's also, just to be totally transparent, an invitation to potentially be considered to join us in May, where I'm going to be running a new group coaching program. It will be a small group of people learning together from one another's experiences, called Revolutionize Your Life. We can have an exploratory chat about that if you'd like to do so. If you don't, and sometimes it's not resonant working with me, I have a cohort of people who I refer people to, and that might be a suitable possibility, or just the conversation might be enough. Whatever works for you.
Debbie, I love that. I love the fact that you acknowledge, and we all need to acknowledge, that sometimes the synergy isn't there, and that's not a problem. There's no expectation that sort of taking up an offer like that is going to become right. Now there's the hard sell. This is an exploratory conversation. This is an offer, and I love the fact that you will turn around and go, do you know, there's somebody else who perhaps you would get on better with. Let's have a conversation about how I can introduce you to them. And I think that's really valuable.
Thank you. It's really important. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a particular book or course or something which enabled you to sort of unlock some of this coaching advice and would be a valuable resource for people to take on themselves?
There is, Stuart, and within that as well, if I may, and if you'll humour me today, I'd just like to offer a little experiment while we're on the call. So I'll just talk to your question directly first of all, and then maybe offer something that might help people here today. So there are three women actually, and within that. Some publications that might help people. So three women have inspired me, amongst very many, and I do stand on the shoulders of giants. One is my leadership embodiment somatic coach teacher, Wendy Palmer, who, God rest her soul, she actually passed in December. She actually taught me, I really want to present her today, because she actually taught me I have got a body as well as a head, because growing up as I did, I kind of was disconnected. And that's the other experience that I see with my clients today. We get disconnected from our heads and our bodies. And I'll come back to that with the little exercise in a moment. And you can find Wendy's work online, and there is a book called Leadership Embodiment. It's a valuable resource. My teacher, who I've been with now since 2013, Dr. Claire Zammit, is the founder of the Institute for Women-Centered Coaching, Leadership and Training. And her work is all around her PhD research into the power blocks for women, which she's researched into shame, lack and isolation, and how our limiting beliefs keep us stuck. And her work is absolutely game-changing. And Claire is absolutely a high recommendation. And then the other one is, and it's a book series that I'm part of, just to be transparent about this, and the inspirational leader behind that, Kazia Luckett, and it's called the Pay It Forward series, Notes for My Younger Self. And there are 4 volumes now, and there are stories in there that are real life stories from women and men about seminal moments in their life when they write back to their younger selves with the wisdom and the experience that they've gained where they are in their adult life right now. And that kind of brings me almost full circle to why I'm here today and doing what I'm doing. And it is about bringing that wisdom that I've learned on the shoulders of giants to try and help people today.
We all stand on the shoulders of giants, don't we, Debbie? We really do.
Yeah, so absolutely. So if you'll indulge me, and
Yes.
if anybody wants to play along with this, so we often, what I want to speak to here is how we get triggered in a typically unconsciously. Now,
Yep.
some people listening to this may have done work in martial arts, so this may just humour me and go along with this. So what I want to invite people to do, and you, if you'll play along with this, Stuart, as well, is if it's safe and comfortable to do so, so please make sure you're not driving or looking after young children or operating heavy machinery, but if it's safe and comfortable to do so, I just want to invite you to think about something that kind of happened today, low level, not a big unprocessed emotion, low level that's happened today or yesterday that kind of triggered a reaction in your body. It might be an email coming in and you think, I should have answered that. Or it might be the telephone ringing and it's somebody who you don't want to talk to. Or you might be doing a talk, or you might be at a meeting and you notice that somebody's suddenly falling asleep or yawning or looking away or rolling their eyes. Just something like that, low level.
Okay. I have in mind a telephone call I didn't want to make.
Okay. So I want to invite you now to think about, where is your attention as you think about that? And you don't have to share it with me, but often you can if you want, often our attention then is on the stressor. It's on the telephone. It's on the call. It's on the screen where the emails come in. It's if you're in a meeting, it's on that person who might have yawned or is rolling their eyes. And all of a sudden we start to run stories in our mind. I should have done that. I don't want to do this. Or everybody must be bored because that person's rolling their eyes. And our concentration then gets narrower and narrower and narrower. Yeah. So, and then
I'm going to have to agree with you every minute of the way here. Yes, as soon as I knew I had to make that call, all I could think of was the reaction I was going to get and what he was going to say and how I didn't want to have that discussion. And suddenly all I could think about was, do I have to pick the phone up at all?
Yeah. So all of a sudden, whatever your intentions were for that day, it's gone out of the window. All your attention's there, and thank you for sharing that, Stuart, because it just normalizes. This happens to us, and then I also want to invite you just to notice anything that you might feel in your body. So, for example, any muscle groups that might tense. Yeah.
Yes.
and yeah. So just noticing that, just very gently from a place of curiosity and wonder. Okay, so now I just want to notice in all of that. So now I want to invite you just to shake all that off, and I'm doing it with you. Just shake it all off. That's all right. It's okay. If you like me, you'll just, yeah, that's better. Okay, so now I want to invite you to just make a shift in your seat, or if you're standing or if you're walking, and just think about you when you're at your best. And it might be, for example, when you're chairing these calls, these podcast calls, Stuart. Or it might be somebody who is out just having a walk and connecting with nature. Or it might be when you're listening to music. It might be in your work. It might be when you're playing with your children. Whatever. Just connect with you when you're at your best. And as you do that, just invite you to take a deep breath, and as if you were breathing all the way down into your hips, down through your legs to the soles of your feet and connecting with the earth. And just see if you need to make any minor adjustments, even 10% more. what would it be like even if I connect with myself even 10% more? And just taking a deep breath. And for some of us, we might actually want to do either Wonder Woman or Superman pose. I can't remember what Superman does, but I know Wonder Woman goes like that and just lifts her head up a little bit. Just have your chin just tilted up a little bit. And now take a deep breath. And as you do that, as you connect to you at your best, just feel the space, as if there's space and you're being supported from behind. And now, just inviting you to put your attention kind of out there a little bit on the horizon. Not too far, not too close. And now I invite you to think about that telephone call, or that email coming in, or that person who's rolled their eyes in the meeting. And I wonder, what do you
Much
notice
nicer
now?
to think about them, isn't it? You feel so much less worried about it.
And when you're feeling less worried about it, what options does that give you?
Oh, what a good question. I can choose not to be angry when they make the comment I know they're going to make, because why do I need to be angry?
And what I'm hearing you say there, it gives you choice. It actually gives you choice about how to respond. And actually, yeah, that person might be angry and that might be legitimate, but that then might inform your response that might then take the conversation in a totally different direction to the direction it would have gone. So I just invite, sorry, go on.
No, I'm just taking a lovely deep breath, Debbie.
You're welcome to do so. It's your podcast after all. So I just invite people, if that resonates for you, just to play with that and practice. And just get into this place of, I wonder what might that be if I respond to that telephone call, that email, or even just expand a little and look beyond that person who's rolling their eyes. I wonder what my next step might be from there. So we're
What a
behaving
lovely
with a
exercise.
choice. Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant exercise. I almost hate to ask you the question that I've got in my mind now, because it'll break the spell, but I'm going to do it because that's the format of the coffee, of the 5 questions over coffee. And my fifth question is, there is a question that I should have asked you by now and I haven't. So what's the question? And please don't let it be, what is the email that, what is the telephone call that I should have responded, that I had to make, because that would be very cruel. But what is the question I should have asked you at this stage, which you are wanting me to ask? And then once you've asked the question, then obviously you need to answer it for us.
Okay, so I'm not cruel, so I won't ask you that question. What I would do, I'd get really curious, and I'd challenge me, and I would say, okay, do you walk your talk? And if you do walk your talk, then what's the help and support, or what's inspiring you to get to the next level in your life right now? Because like everybody else, I'm on my own growth edge. And my answer to that would be two things. One is I'm in part of a leadership mastermind group with some incredible global leaders, Athena Leadership Mastermind, to try and raise my own level and my own contribution, my own thinking. And the other thing, someone last week introduced me to a woman's work who I'd never ever heard of before until that time, Dr. Edith Eger. And Dr. Edith is 93 years old. She'd been in Auschwitz and she is incredible. Listening to her on the podcast, she has 2 books. The first one she wrote in 2017, and she published another one 3 years ago at the age of 90, The Choice and The Gift. And both of those I've ordered because I'm constantly up leveling. I'm a lifelong learner. And actually, can I share one more?
Please do.
The book that I'm reading right now is called The People Part by Annie Hyman Watt. And Annie Hyman's Watt talks to us moving into this place of self-leadership rather than self-protection, and the benefit of that for people and organizations.
I love that. And I will be looking into certainly 2 of those books because they sound absolutely incredible. One of the reasons I should be looking into one of them is that I spent a day at Auschwitz in November of 2022, and it is a trip I believe everybody should take because you learn a lot about yourself by looking at that picture and whether or not you could choose to take away from that a positive or negative experience. If you can choose to take a positive from that, then you have achieved marvelous things. Debbie, I'm going to thank you so much for spending these few minutes with us and for taking us through that lovely exercise. And I do hope people, when they hear the replay of this, spend a few minutes thinking about making those choices when you get that phone call, or when you have to make that phone call, or when you get that email, or indeed when you get bad news or whatever. Take the moment to just center yourself and do the exercise to choose how to respond, because that choice is so important to us. And thank you so much for sharing it.
Stuart, and thank you very much for your time today and having me on your podcast. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
That's no problem. Listen, I'm just going to say one thing. If you would like to get onto our mailing list so that you can get on and hear when these are being done live, and join us and watch and participate in those discussions that we've just had, go to the link at the bottom of the page, tca.fyi. That's tca.fyi/subscribe. That just comes through to me. I put you on the mailing list, and I send you an email most Tuesday mornings with the Who's on the Podcast interview live this week. Debbie, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing how your mastermind group that you're putting together in May goes. I sincerely hope that people will take advantage of coming back to you about that, because I think it would be a brilliant opportunity.
Thank you so much, Stuart, and thank you for having me on for my very, very first podcast and live.
It's been a pleasure, Debbie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stuart. I'll see you again soon. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.